Hi guys, Karen here with, of course, Whiskey Sour, my bud. Hoping you guys are having a good start to your week and that your holiday season is wonderful so far. I know a lot of kids are, finishing up school for the next few weeks here and that too, so add some extra craziness to your house, I'm sure. A couple quick updates for you. One is I had so much email. Thank you. Uh, about the guy that had blocked me yesterday for me not responding to him or clicking like or whatever. And everybody wondered, what happened? Did that guy see the video? He actually apologized before the video went up. I had shot it before he had apologized, and so we're all good. Pretty cool, huh? So I was really happy that went that way. It's a little bit of a weight off of me because he's somebody who's been in our community for a really long time. So that's good. I like when things heal and there's forgiveness and all that kind of stuff, so it's awesome. The other thing I want to update you guys on is this kitty in Ohio. Her name is Ape. She still needs a home by the end of this month. There are people who are interested in Ape who live far away and are having difficulty trying to figure out transportation. One of the wonderful people in our community, Anja, has offered some information to these people about helping with transportation, so that's good. But nothing is in stone. There's just still a lot of talking going on. So this Ape, this kitty who looks a lot like my filthy cat did, needs a home by the end of the month. I cannot take her. I would, if there was ever a cat out there, I would take it. Would be Ape, because she's beautiful, and the only reason that she's losing her home is because they're losing their home. And I just can't. Logistically, I just can't. I'm in Los Angeles and sometimes in Canada and just not sure where I'm going to be moving and all that stuff, and I just can't take her, unfortunately, so it sucks. But somebody out there is going to have a really great cat. So if you live in the Ohio area, or even if you don't live right in the Ohio area and you need some help getting that cat transported to you, there are options. So just let me know or put it up on my Facebook profile or whatever. So that's a couple things I wanted to update you on. Third thing, I'm not going home for Christmas. I'm going to be here all week. So if you guys want CDs, it usually only takes a couple days in the US. It might take 2 to 3 days or something with the Christmas season for me to get a CD out to you. If you have friends that you'd like to give CDs to for the Christmas season, I'd be happy to do that. If you're still running a bit short on money and still have a few presents left to buy and you want to give the CDs to somebody, I'll happily send them out and you can just pay me in the new year. Not a problem at all. I wrote a blog today called, "Is Christmas a Sad Time of Year for You?" The dread of loneliness is greater than the fear of bondage, so we get married. It's a quote by Cyril Connolly. In looking at loneliness quotes, and I'm doing this not just to bum myself out at Christmas time, I'm doing it because there's a lot of people who are lonely, and I'm feeling it from a lot of people. I personally am doing fine. I saw that one and wondered how many reasons were out there for people who get married. What makes a person get married? Mom used to say the only reason to ever get married is because you love someone so much that you can't live without them. And marriage in many cultures is planned for them. So there's a lot of reasons why. Many people get married because they're lonely, though. And after all, there isn't 7 billion people on this planet for no reason. I don't believe we're meant to be alone. Loneliness, however, is very different from being alone. And the great thing about being alone is you can choose to be alone. Most people do not choose loneliness. So it's quite different. And of course, I've done extensive blogs on this topic. So yeah, there's a big difference. There are, of course, the happy relationships or marriages where everything is great, but then work might take one of the partners away, or war. We're seeing this a lot. There's a lot of troops, that are off to war right now, who are away from their families. And that can cause loneliness for the people back home, and it can cause loneliness for the people who have to go away. And a death or a breakup can leave us really lonely, and I'm seeing this a lot lately. And this thought brought up this quote from Germaine Greer, who said, "Loneliness is never more cruel than when it is felt in close propinquity," which means proximity. You don't see that word used too often. I can see why. It's a weird word. With someone who has ceased to communicate. So if somebody close to you stopped talking to you, never is loneliness such a stinger than in that scenario. And you don't have to physically be alone to be lonely. You've maybe heard me say that there are people who feel alone in a crowded room, and that's the feeling of being disconnected. When someone is in a chair 2 feet away from you and they won't speak to you, I think you can often feel more lonely than if they just simply were not there at all. And many people will stay in unhealthy relationships, so the physical loneliness just doesn't burn quite as much. And loneliness can lead to depression, as we know. I've talked about this so extensively because there's never a topic that I have been more experienced at than depression. Years of it. Years and years of it. I'm glad to say I'm out of it now, but I've had many, many years of it. And depression can lead us to do things which are really unhealthy for our character, really unhealthy for our spirit. And the guilt of those things that we end up doing can make us feel even more isolated and lonely. There are people out there, though, who have a different perspective on their loneliness. I don't mean on being lonely, or the perspective of being lonely versus loneliness, but have a different perspective on loneliness itself. And Henry Rollins seems to be one of those people. He says loneliness adds beauty to life. It puts a special burn on sunsets and makes the night air smell better. Now, he may have very well meant being alone, but maybe he really did mean that loneliness forced the new perspective. He's smart enough that if he really wrote loneliness adds beauty to life, that's what he meant. And so maybe he meant that loneliness forced a new perspective in his life. And I think that's pretty cool. And everyone I know who is alone but doesn't feel that really burning sense of loneliness seems to have found a sense of purpose in their life. If you're just new listening to these videos, that might be the first time you hear me say it, but for anybody that's been around my blog community for a while, you've probably heard me say it a million times, this purpose-driven life. Everyone absolutely has the ability to live out a life of purpose and a life of meaning, but I know for me personally, I have managed to talk myself into being good to nobody. And that is, of course, I don't feel this way anymore. But sometimes I felt like I could maybe provide some good. There was these little glimpses where I thought, yeah, maybe I can do some good. But then I was just simply too tired, or I was just too emotionally drained to do anything about it. Or I was just simply too sad. Just too sad. So it wasn't just the understanding that I could provide some good, but it was just having the energy to do something about it, physically or emotionally. And people who have overcome loneliness will either engage in things that are personally satisfying, like art, like music, like writing, much like Henry Rollins, he's really into that. Or they take their lonely time and they use it as an opportunity to reach out to others who feel the same way. Kind of in a Forrest Gump kind of way, It's like if you can sit on a park bench beside someone, put your arm around them and say, you know what, I know what you're going through, or I will be a listener to you because I understand, or whatever. There's so much value in that. So if you can somehow transition how lonely you feel into helping others, it's a really amazing thing that we're able to do. Albert Einstein had a quote that said, "It is strange to be known so universally and yet to be so lonely." Even people who lived a seemingly fulfilled life, like Albert Einstein, this man who was brilliant and managed to get a lot done in his life and left a huge legacy, had bouts of loneliness. So it doesn't always have to do with the things that fill up our day, and doesn't have to do with how smart we are or how worthwhile that we are, truly. Sometimes it's the scariest thought just for lonely people to reach out to others. And I think we are programmed to believe that we have to gain something from others to feel less lonely. But I'm starting to see these pockets of people coming out all over the place and shining who have the belief that helping others is the real cure for being alone and for being lonely. There is something very satisfying about being a comfort to someone who is hurting. It is tremendously rewarding for me when I feel like I've helped someone to heal, even if just by 1%. If somebody else took them 99% of the way there, and I just, was able to inject 1% of help with their healing, what a tremendous sense of purpose I get from that. Now, Christmas, with this week coming here, It especially burns a reminder in our head that some people are being festive while we aren't. You can really, if your mind wants to go there, you can really go on that journey. And I guess this is why some people choose to work at a soup kitchen or at a homeless shelter or Meals on Wheels or something like that that they can participate in. They feel like they're making a difference. That, there's people out there who are being really festive, and then there's people who are sitting by themselves at home. What's in between all that? Does it always have to be one or the other? There's this whole world in between those two things. And I feel like many of those people in the in-between parts, in all these little pockets, have really figured it out. I think it's fantastic. There are loads of people who spend every waking minute of their Christmas holidays with family and still will find a corner to try to get away from them. Or they can feel lonely right at the dinner table. And I'm not going to go back home for Christmas this year, and I will miss my family, but I'll see them soon. Since my mother's death, which happened on Christmas Eve of 2001, I have dealt with every single Christmas a little differently. Just depends where I'm at in my life and what's going on. That can really hurt, or it can be okay. Just depends on what's going on in my life. This year, I'm going to take it as an opportunity where the industry is a bit quieter, and the phones don't ring quite as much, and there's not as much craziness going on, to assess a whole bunch of things in my life. And I'm looking forward to all the new things and changes that are coming up, and getting some work caught up, believe it or not. That doesn't seem like a good way to spend Christmas, but boy, if you feel overwhelmed by work and you feel like you're catching up, it can be rewarding. And of course, I'll grab some hot chocolate and something in there, make me feel a little warmer. If you are dreading being alone for Christmas, and I know many of you are, is there some brand new tradition that you can start? And I want to share this quick story with you about this guy I heard up in Canada. He tells me that, he has this time off at Christmas where he's off of work from his office. And he takes the time off work and takes his dogs out on the sleds and gives them this really solid workout. He's got these huskies. And he used to be married, but he's been widowed for about 5 years now. And he says Christmas has become his favorite time of year again, since he says shredding up the trails and his panting dogs that are just getting this full-on workout. He says there's nothing more invigorating than being out with his pets in nature, experiencing nature in its extreme conditions. This is a guy he doesn't even live in southern Ontario where I lived. He lives up north where the real snow is. And I think, does he miss his wife? Of course he misses his wife. He spoke so fondly of her and loved her so dearly, and it hurt so bad when he lost her. She meant absolutely everything to him. But he remembers looking down at his huskies, and they were mourning his wife along with him. He looked down and he saw that they looked lonely and that they looked sad. And one day he just decided Christmas was going to change for him, and he was going to change it for the dogs as well, and just change the energy of his household. And now they go for a really long sled ride. They come home. He lights a fire for them, and he makes some hot chocolate, and they all fall asleep to music or the TV. And I just thought, just how invigorating is that, seeing these dogs go full on workout. We see our dogs wander around the house and stuff, but to see a dog sled, he's essentially got a dog sled team going on there. They're just panting and working out and feeling awesome. And I know that many of you are feeling really sad and feeling really hurting, and you're perhaps mourning somebody you just lost, or whatever the situation is. But is there something that you could do, much like this guy or with his huskies, that could be your new tradition? Is there someone out there who could use your life experiences to help them heal? Are you able to look at your new situation, not as a new opportunity, but as a new calling? I hope that if you know someone who's really especially hurting or lonely right now, that you will take the time to reach out to them and show them some love, because boy, that can go a really, really long way with people. I signed off saying, thinking about those really tiny marshmallows and how they sit in the hot chocolate better than the big ones. I signed off with a Meg Ryan quote as if I didn't have enough quotes, right? She says, I think there's an ongoing effort involved in trying to get a bigger perspective, trying to let things go that limit your capacity to love and be loved, or your capacity to hear and to really speak. What an effort trying to gain this new perspective. I try every single day. So I will leave that with you guys today, and I will tune in with you again tomorrow. So until next time, from Whiskey Sour and me, rock on.